this week, President Trump announced the FDA's approval for using convalescent plasma to treat COVID-19. This is the same method that's been used to treat the flu and Ebola, and more than 70,000 American patients with COVID-19 have been treated with it. Here's Secretary of Health and Human Services Alex Azar.
The data we gathered suggests that patients who were treated early in their disease course, within 3 days of being diagnosed, with plasma containing high levels of antibodies, benefited the most from treatment. We saw about a 35% better survival in the patients who benefited most from the treatment, which were patients under 80 who were not on artificial respiration.
So my question for the panel is this an important medical treatment advancement that we're making, or is this a political issue? I'll start with Preston.
I'm not a doctor, but I generally support and favor deregulation of the FDA, right to choose, doctor-patient, the ability for doctors and patients to make decisions that are best for them. And America's the birth of free enterprise, the cradle of innovation. We should be using as many solutions as possible to face this pandemic.
Marie, your thoughts?
I think it's a wonderful solution, and you're just taking what the body makes naturally, take it from other people who have survived it, and then you're using it on others. And technically, that's what the body's supposed to do: is to take from diseases and grow from it and be able to build a defense. And that's we're just helping people build a defense. So to do this treatment, I think is wonderful.
All right, Misha, your thoughts?
It's a little bit of both. I think that it's definitely political. President Trump knows that there are several trials and several people who have to go through clinical trials to actually get a immunization that's actually going to work. That takes years, and sometimes 10 to 12 years. So I think that with him looking at November just around the corner and knowing that his COVID-19 lack of actual awareness and really working to advance anything around it other than hoaxes and other random theories, that has really cost him in the polls. And right now he's looking to push something through faster because he knows that he's not going to get an FDA approved anything before November.
He probably won't get an FDA anything before November, but Malik, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that this is one of those instances where we should definitely listen to the scientists. Sure, there's probably a political motivation because as Amisha said, Donald Trump hasn't handled this as well as he should have had. But the problem is that we're pushing up against an election. As someone who's participated in clinical trials, I support these type of efforts. People generally will poo-poo these efforts, but I think these things are great. We're going to continue to learn as we go along, but I don't think that this is the horrible thing as it's been portrayed in the media by those who don't support Trump.
All right, and I liked the sound effect, the poo-poo. Yeah, that was good. All right, it is time for the lightning round. We've got 3 minutes to get through as many questions as we can, and the panelists have 10 seconds each to answer, and we'll see how many questions we can get through. All right, here we go. Which convention, the DNC or the RNC, most effectively reached an audience outside of its base? I'll start with Preston.
I'd say the RNC, and you could just tell from the amount of testimonials from people who left the former party or who were personally affected by the RNC. It had a lot more emotional tone. It was far more persuasive.
All right, Misha.
I think that this election is going to be a referendum on Trump. As Malik had said earlier, I don't think that there is anybody who's not inside ball who actually really pays attention and is going to be moved by either of the conventions. These are largely people who already know who they're going to vote for.
All right, Malik.
Neither one. As someone who, I'm a former Democrat, moved to the Republican Party in 2016, I was no more moved by this actual convention any more than I was Democrat. So I don't think that we're going to move a lot of people from these conventions.
Okay, Marie?
If you look at ratings, you say that the RNC the first night had 444 million in their ratings, while the DNC had 76 million. So pretty sure that the RNC did move outside their normal, normal audience. Whether that turns into votes or not, we won't know till November.
Okay. Next question. Are we nearing the end of the lockdowns, or will these all extend past the election? Preston.
I sure hope so, because if people need a choice between socialism and central planning and communism and free market capitalism, the COVID lockdown and universal lock everything down policy is the starkest choice. It's the greatest public policy failure in American history, period. And a lot of the blood is on the Democratic governor's hands.
And Biden did say that he would lock the government down.
Yeah, and we've seen it work in countries outside of America over and over and over again who did it for months and who also imposed mass mandates, and their people are out and they're fine at this point. So I think that there's something to be said about precedent when we watch it work and work well in other westernized as well as non-westernized nations. Will we go back? It depends on where the COVID-19 numbers are. I don't think that we're out of the clear just yet.
Okay. Malik.
Yeah, totally agree. I don't think that we're out of the clear, and I think that we'll probably see more lockdowns even after November, because we're seeing now that a lot of this this, it isn't about necessarily government mandates whether you wear a mask or not. It's really human behavior. And human behavior has dictated a lot of these recent lockdowns that we've seen.
Okay, Marie, 10
I
seconds.
definitely agree with Malik that it is human behavior because you're seeing young adults who have this invincibility about them, and you're seeing the numbers start to raise up in that demographics, while older adults took it more seriously. They were more afraid of their health, and they did what they needed to do. So, but at the end, I don't know if we're at the end of it or it's going to go on for a while.
All right, don't go anywhere. When we come back from the break, we'll view the panel's choice and see which topics that they thought were important. We'll be right back.